I wanted to make an update about my life and being autistic and my life experience, which hasn't been the best. Um, my brother is invalidating me, which is always fun. Um, I want to talk about some experience and how I felt as an autistic person. I have some degree of dissociation, and so it's rather fascinating because since I was a child, I had a concept of feeling like a hologram, but that's a whole different story. But I think that probably what inspired me was when we were kids, and now I'm dating myself. There was this series that was RoboCop, and was really fascinated, pretty hologram lady, and I could relate to her a lot because she was a sentient being, or rather a spirit, or whatever. She was intelligent, and you could see her frustrations that she could interact with the world, but not really. So she was there, but not really. She was part of the world, but not really part of the world. And growing up, I felt such a connection to that character in RoboCop. Um, well, first she's pretty, and she had a cute dress, and little girls they can relate to that. But most importantly, I always felt ostracized, and I felt that a huge part of the human experience eluded me. So the thought the relating to that hologram actually helped me kind of process my emotions in regards to my isolation and my inability to communicate. At times, there were times that I felt I wasn't real because the likelihood no, it's also because people would invalidate my suffering and would say, "No, it's impossible. You're being dramatic. It can't be that bad. You must have a few friends. It can't be that bad. I don't think your parents beat you. It can't be that bad. You're not going through all that. It's impossible for someone to go through so much troubles." And at times, I had a feeling that I wasn't real, that I didn't exist because I wasn't part of the world. And it's I know I exist. I'm conscious that I exist, but there were also times that I stopped feeling my body, and I had a really bad dissociation. And so it's rather fascinating because to me, the hologram is a good way to describe at least my particular experience as an autistic person in a neurotypical world. In a sense, I can interact with human beings, I can see them, I can somewhat be seen, but I can touch. I I'm there observing everyone living their lives, but I'm not really part of it. I'm just there in passing. It's like when you go to touch people, they kind of traverse your body. You can't really it's it's also in part because I can't count probably with my hands the times I was hugged in my life or had interactions with people closer than 1 meter. And it's like I feel that like you're there, you're in the room, but you're not really part of the room. You can somehow communicate, but you're not really part of that world. It's like you're in sort of a parallel universe, and there's a reflection of you or a reflection of that universe, and there is some interaction between that you and that universe, but you're not really part of it. And to me, it was the best, the most comforting metaphor because I mean, in 37 years, I've spent most of my life alone. I couldn't relate to my family. The only interactions I had with people tended to be negative. I think most positive interactions were very fleeting, perhaps my grandparents, and it led when a big reason I did something I shouldn't in 2013 was three of my grandparents passed away. But to me, it's rather it's difficult to explain. But the reality is, um, most holograms have no intelligence, and of course they're just images, reflections. But the reality is, I liked it because when I'm in talking to people, I'm not really there. It's not really me they're talking to. Is what they want me to be or what they want to perceive I am. So in reality, it's not really me that is interacting with these people. It's not really me that is interacting with my family and friends. It's that image they have of me. That it's a hologram. It's not me. It's something that doesn't exist. And it's really hard to explain to I'm I really struggle with explaining my thoughts. I have a more elaborate idea in my mind of why I relate to the idea of being a hologram, but it's really hard to put into words. I may revisit it in another video. But it's interesting because I spent most of my life masking, and people don't see me for me. They look at me, but it's like I'm not there. And if I'm there, the interactions are very limited. I cannot. It's like imagine if you were a hologram, you wouldn't be able to feel things. You wouldn't be able to touch. You wouldn't be able to experience the vast majority of things in life. And I think that's something that relates to my experience so much. And I mean, when you go to a family gathering or with friends, you see people get close to each other, then relate to each other, and you may even understand their feelings, but they never understand your feelings, or they don't care about your feelings. They like to tell you how you should feel, how you should act, what you should look like, how to live your life, and why you are not autistic, and why you're putting on you're being dramatic, and how you're making stuff up to make excuses. And I don't know. It's just so. I don't know. I like the idea of comparing my autistic, not everyone's autistic experience, because everyone is an individual and everyone has a different experience. But to me, I feel like such an outsider, and the fact that I am unable to have good social interactions or very rarely. Sometimes I felt like I wasn't real, that I wasn't here, that I wasn't part of this world. Now, logically, I know that I'm real, I know that I'm here, and I can even feel my thighs and my arms, and I know that I'm real. But there is a certain dissociation with my lived experience, because if you think statistically, it's highly unlikely that someone would have such a bad experience in life and would be such an outlier in everything. So yeah, that's it. I will revisit the concept of a hologram because it goes deeper than that, but I'm in a state right now that I can't really explain my feelings well. So I wanted just to kind of prime the idea because I think that maybe other people might relate to that. Um, and now the aftermath of the diagnosis, which is rather interesting. Um, so I've known that I was autistic most of my life. I mean, I was diagnosed with Asperger's as a kid, even though uh, my parents rejected the diagnosis, and when I came to Portugal, they didn't carry it to Portugal, and my parents somehow forgot that I was diagnosed, and but I remembered, and they tried to gaslight me and say that I'm making things up, but how hell would a 5 to 6 year old make up the name Asperger's? I mean, autism, yeah, it's rather known, but I don't know. I don't think I would make it up. But even so, I always had these experiences and these bad situations with school and inability to relate to people and inability of people to relate to me. So I think it makes sense. But my family still gaslights me. And after 37 years, where authorities and um, health authorities, psychiatrists, social services all made fun of me, saying that I wasn't autistic. Um, they were very ableist. They were very, let's say, they were really gaslighting me about my diagnosis or possible diagnosis. They even said that I imagined my diagnosis as a child. They said that even if I was diagnosed, I could have the wrong diagnosis, but somehow they wanted to diagnose with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, um, eating disorders, all sorts of things that I have no traits of. Um, so that was fun. My entire life going through parental abuse, institutional abuse, and all sorts of negative experiences. But what I want to tell now is how my family is gaslighting me now that I am diagnosed with autism level 1 and ADHD, because the Asperger's diagnosis no longer exists. So I was diagnosed with autism level 1, CPTSD, and I have autistic burnout, but that I knew. Um, Invalidation, trauma, a few, I don't know, there was a few traumas there that my psychiatrist put in my report. So I have all of these things and ADHD, and my family now says that, oh, autistic level 1. Even if you're autistic, that's basically nothing. You're just making excuses. The only reason you're not social is because you have a computer, and your problems cleaning are because of the computer, and all your social issues are because of the computer. When all these issues, I already had some of it before even I had electronics. And when I didn't have electronics after I was hospitalized against my will, I was still having issues with socializing. I was still having issues with other things. So it's like they want to gaslight you about your diagnosis and your needs, and it's really upsetting. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, CPTSD, autism, ADHD, and burnout. Yet your family says that you are supposed to handle it. You're supposed to be acting normal. You're supposed to suck it up. And the thing is, I asked for help. I always ask for help, but they don't want to help me the way I need. They want to help me the way they think I should be helped. They want to control my life. And social services now came back into my life after I had issues. When I went to Lisbon, my landlord came and took everything I owned, and I wanted uh, I mean, everything I had in boxes, and my gold, my books, everything was gone. And now social services are harassing me every week. They want to manage my life. They even uh, threaten if I don't let them in. They'll call the police on me. So I open the door, and they also want to manage my money for me. I mean, I'm independent. I have my rights, and I'm mature enough to manage my finances. I don't need anyone to manage my finances. And I just feel that in the last 37 years, it's just violation of my autonomy and rights. After after violation, I have absolutely no rights. And when I was a kid in Switzerland, my parents lost custody because of abuse. And to this day, Portuguese authorities didn't do anything about my parents abusing me, beating me, treating me badly. They invalidated the fact that I'm autistic. They themselves have been abusing me for the last 20 years. So, I don't know. Just autistic, even if diagnosed, we have no rights here. Um, I just wanted to make an update because it's really frustrating. I thought that once I finally got the diagnosis, things, I know they wouldn't change from one day to the other, but at least I hoped they would get better. But that's not the case. Um, there is resistance on the part of my family to accept me and to understand that I do have struggles, and that autism level 1 doesn't mean normal or barely autistic. It means you're autistic, but you have less needs in regards to certain um and the thing is, your your needs may change throughout your life. I can be autistic level 1, but my needs may change to a level 2 all of a sudden. And maybe I'm at a level 2 needs right now, but because I was diagnosed with Asperger's when I was a child, and I am articulate, and I have a job and certain other things, I don't fit the criteria for level 2. But it doesn't make my struggles any less hard than other autistic people. If anything, it actually may be worse, because when most other uh, level 2, level 3 is much more visible. And because it's much more visible, it's easier for you to get help and to get people not to misjudge you, to misdiagnose you, to make assumptions about why you're unable to take out the trash today, or why you're unable to get out of the house and talk to them, or why you don't do want to do certain things. It's like, if you are an autistic level 1, you're accused of making excuses not to do things. You're accused of not really having a hard time, not really struggling. And at the same time, they think they can cure you by force expose you to interactions with people, by forcing you to do stuff and routines that they think will benefit you, and they ignore when you have if you have, like, yes, I have autism level 1, and yes, it may be less evident, and I may have less needs than other autists, but I also have CPTSD and ADHD and other comorbidities that make it hard to function. I I've been in autistic burnout for decades now. For decades, I've been under constant burnout and shutdowns, and they don't see it. That's invisible. They see it as me not wanting to cooperate, them wanting to do things for me that they feel will help me, but those things are only making me more burnt out and having more shutdowns. My brother keeps bringing up a meltdown I had when he was taking my stuff. Uh, and the thing is, they bring up your meltdowns, they make fun of you, they say you're immature. But when you tell them that it's a trait of autism and it's part of your sensorial overload, they invalidate you. And it's frustrating, because they keep bringing up everything about you that is autistic, and they want you to fix, and the very things that make you suffer, the very symptoms of being burnout, they want you to fix your burnout. But what they do to fix your burnout actually makes you more burnout. And it's frustrating, because they keep pointing out your autistic traits, your burnout symptoms, and yet they invalidate your diagnosis as autistic, as just mild autism, or you're barely autistic, you're going to be okay, you just need to do what I want and you'll be fine, you just need to learn with me. Or And the burnout, oh, it's nothing. This is just you being lazy and finding excuses. You're barely autistic. That's nothing. And it's really, really frustrating because I've been struggling for years and my very family is making it harder for me. So, this is it, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.